interesting history lesson too. We talk about pennies as being copper, and they were mostly copper, I believe, but until 1982, they switched how they made pennies. Must be because zinc is cheaper than copper. Now, zinc, we have 97.6% zinc. What's the symbol for that? Kashan, what's the symbol for zinc? Zn, good. And is it monatomic or diatomic if you have that metal? Do you remember? Monatomic, good. Okay, so we've got zinc. Look at this, 97.6 is zinc, and yet we talk about copper pennies. Well, zinc is a silver-colored metal. Would that be a physical property or a chemical property, Mary? Physical. The color of zinc is kind of silver. Okay, and the color of copper is kind of copper-colored, okay? Or a reddish-brown kind of thing. Well, if you put the two together and you melt them down so they will mix and form a nice homogeneous mixture, that what color is going to dominate? The darker. So they can go cheap by using zinc and then have just enough copper to make the color you want. Okay, Trent, what's the symbol for copper? Just C? Brittany, could you help her out? Copper.
CO.
Okay.
CU.
CU. We go to the Latin. Okay? Need to know. Need to repeat many, many times. Okay. So this is how much copper. In fact, I've seen one little kid do a science fair project. In fact, he went next door so he could use our electronic balances. He took pennies from about 1960 to 1982, and the average penny weighed so much. And then pennies that 82 on, he weighed a whole series of those, and they weighed differently. The average was significantly different. And I think prior to 1960, there was something else, the really old pennies. So they have switched several times. In fact, at 60 Minutes, not too long ago, whoever's head of the U.S. Mint making pennies, it's costing the U.S. government more than 1 penny to make a penny. Okay? They're losing money on pennies. They ought to just take them off the market. You know, if it's 99 cents, forget it. You just lost 1 cent. You know, round. Make it an even number because it's costing them more than they're worth. Okay, so, all right, what we want to do is just a little practice run here. And we want to find out if we took 1 penny that was made after 1982, and this is what it weighed, and we've got a fantastic electronic balance that goes out to 3 decimal places. When you see this number right here, Antonio, how many 6?
4.
4. Why?
Because there's one long.
Okay, I don't think that hold up in a court of law. Okay, what about non-zero digits? They're always significant. Okay, so there's 4 sig figs. Okay, take a look at this number right here. Allison, how many? 3. Okay, and take a look at this number right here. Madeline? 2. But all we want to do is find out this one little question. If you could separate those two, that how much zinc, how many grams of zinc are really there? So we want to take this percent of that. So let's make some space here.
Why is it that are we gonna have 4 sig figs because that's, the answer is gonna have 4 sig figs because that measurement is in grams?
Okay, we're going to assume this is a measurement and we got to use it for sigs. We will, let's consider this and this and this for what we're using.
Right.
And let the fewest number dictate, because we're going to be doing some multiplication. We're not going to mess with the copper itself, or it'd knock us down to 2.
So it would, if we were trying to figure that out,
We
we
would
would
have
have
to
used the 2 because, okay,
technically, yeah.
okay.
Okay, so 1.494 grams. And any number just hanging out by itself, you can always put it over 1, just for safety if you want to. Now, I want to take 97.6% of that. What should I do? Nikki, what do I do? I wanna take, see, I know that it is 97.6% of this is zinc. What do I do to get there?
Multiply.
Okay, multiply by 97.6.
Well, you have to move the decimal to replace the
Yeah.
Latin.
Yes, now, when I was in whatever grade I first heard this, it was just magic. If you were taking percent of something, take that decimal, whip it 2 places over, and God who knew what, we just did it. We never questioned. But you know what? What you're really doing, if you think about percent, it's parts per hundred. That's why I emphasize that up front. So you're saying 97.6 out of every 100 is zinc. That's why Nikki is correct. You grab that decimal, you whip it 2 places over, and usually we don't mess around setting it up like this. We just remember our middle school teacher that used to yell at us, 0.976, and you whip it right into that. But that's why you whip it into that. Okay, so, and of course the number just hanging out. Percent have no units on it. So what we want to do is multiply. We want to think SIGs, and we're going to use this, and we're going to use this on our SIGs. So let's get an answer. If you don't have a calculator, if you have one in your bag, get it out. If you don't, come up here and borrow one of mine. I want to see everybody with a calculator in their hand this morning.